We keep getting previews for the Owl House's grand return, The Long-Lived King. And this time, we actually got some major revelations that impact the future while also shedding light on the past. Are Eda and Lilith going to die much sooner than they'd want? And what's the true nature of abominations? Let's break it all down. Our first image gives us full context to Eda's "Weh?" panel from the previous video, which I thought might have been Eda seeing the Palstrom grow for the first time, but instead, it's something that's a total downer. Eda finds herself in her nest within the Owl House, surrounded by Rain, Basha, and Morton. Rain delivers unsettling news about Eda's curse and the toll it's taking on Eda's condition. Prior to this, I imagine that either Eda will be displaying concerning symptoms that will cause Rain to investigate, or her curse will inadvertently cause destruction. Maybe she turned into the Owl Beast while in public, going on a rampage, losing consciousness, and waking up in her home. Whatever happened, Rain concludes that the same effect which aided Eda in disrupting the Day of Unity is now growing in power, meaning that one day, magic remedies like her potions may not work on the curse at all, and she'll no longer be able to keep it at bay. What does this mean? Well, in a cruel twist of fate, Eda is effectively on borrowed time. Making amends if her inner Owl Beast wasn't enough, the curse will eventually consume her whole and keep her trapped as the Owl Beast. I'd like to believe there's a shot she could find a decent middle ground and retain some control, given that she has her harpy form. Maybe she'll stick in that mode all the time, but I don't think that's necessarily the case, given her grim reaction. It makes it seem like the doomsday clock has begun to count down for Eda, that one day, her identity will cease to exist, and she'll metaphorically die as a person, as she'll be lost to the beast entirely. This startling development is likely what she shares with King, and sets off his existential dread. It could even be some of the devastating information he wants to wipe out of his head. I also really want to know how this news will impact Lilith, in terms of her guilt for bestowing this onto Eda, although it's a burden they now share, and how she herself will feel about their apparent destiny. Will she want to find a way around it, or will she simply accept it for screwing over her sister all those years ago? Will she try to use her powers to absorb the curse entirely? There's some real interesting stuff they could do with Lilith that I hope they take full advantage of, given that it felt like she didn't get to do as much in seasons 2 and 3 when compared to season 1. Next, we have a huge lore drop about abominations, as we finally know what ceremony these traditional outfits on the Boiling Owls are for. It's a funeral, particularly for abominations. According to Amity, Belos outlawed abomination funerals, forcing witches to use abominations until they dried up and withered away. But why would abominations need funerals? Well, aside from the fact that abominations are arguably their own person, given that one's a whole-ass published author, in general, abomination magic is pretty much the Owl House's take on necromancy, through the lens of reanimated organic matter, composed of the dead remains of any and all magical beings on the Isles, ranging from the creatures to the witches. It's pretty obvious with their zombie-like demeanor. You know how you can choose to be an organ donor, so in case you kick the bucket but still have healthy body parts that can be useful, you can still make an impact by giving someone else a second chance at life? It's kinda like that. Granted, witches in particular have bile sacs, which might have been a part of their evolution. So if that means there wouldn't be any magic in their remains aside from the sac, then I assume the bile itself is donated. To further explain it, I believe Papa Titan was not the exception, but the rule, with how his remains were imbued by magic and his presence lingered on the Isles. He just had a stronger presence, as he wasn't completely dead, with his heart still beating, in addition to his colossal size. Any demon with magic within them on the Isles can have their bodies utilized into abomination magic. Now, is it fully ethical? Does it violate any of the Witch Geneva conventions? Yeah, Demon PETA might have a bone to pick, but for the most part, I think witches were cool with it because of the abomination funerals. Given that we know ghosts are a legit thing in the Owl House universe, and maybe their presence is amplified in the demon realm, I'm just spitballing, I'm assuming that when a witch or a demon dies, their spirits don't always pass on to the next life, at least right away. For one reason or another, their spirit may linger, which might be why witches are able to utilize their remains in the first place, given that the glyphs associated with Papa Titan stopped working when he fully passed on. Though that begged the question of how Amity was able to use abomination magic on Earth when fighting Belos in the graveyard. Would that imply that humans do actually have magic, but it's more spiritual, and thus something they can't tap into when they're alive? Yeah, let's not worry about that for now and stay on topic. For witches, having their remains and energy used for abomination magic may be seen as a supernatural rite of passage, their way of giving back to this world before moving on to the next one. And that's where the funerals were pivotal in providing closure and bringing things full circle. Amity states this is the first time they've held this ritual since Belos took rule, giving them the chance to finally return the magic. Abominations were meant to be exhausted until nothing was left, or perpetually exist through things like abomatons. Those machines were disrespectful to the life that gave these abominations form. They were meant to be laid to rest so that their components can return to whence they came. We saw in the last preview that this ritual involves abominations becoming liquefied and transferred into a pot. I'm guessing that Darius, as a master of abomination magic, will cast a spell that will cause the liquefied abomination to evaporate into pure magic, which is then expelled back into the planet, allowing the spirits to pass on. If this is correct, then I wonder if exhausting the abominations until they withered left the spirits stranded, or caused them to fade away without reaching their final resting place. It's a little heavy to think about, so on a brighter note, I love seeing Amity so excited to embrace all these traditions. We saw in the epilogue that she had become an explorer and historian, recovering history that was lost to Belos. It's great seeing them lay the groundwork for that here, as she clearly did her research on abomination funerals. It's not like they wouldn't have learned about them at Hexside before Belos' demise, and I imagine she might be working closer with Darius nowadays. The final image for this round of previews is one that I assume happens after Luz loses her memory, as she's at the owl house, staring at the portraits of her and her owl family with Hootie. She'll likely be frustrated by the fact she can't recognize any of them, nor recall any of the adventures they've documented. I'm really interested to see how they handle this, as amnesia plots are usually divisive amongst fans. A lot of people can do without them, just as Donadon readers. In a story that's all about death and valuing your time with loved ones, it's interesting to see Luz die in the sense that she won't know who she is. I'm sure the power level will save her in the end, but I really hope they relish in the Yanks beforehand. But with all that said, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think lies in store for Eda? What's your take on abominations and their correlation to spirits? Let us know in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going by giving me a follow over on Twitter and Instagram at OstricVox and at Roundtable Vids. Shout out to Art Recorded for another amazing thumbnail, and if you enjoyed this video, please sort a like and subscribe to the Roundtable with notifications on so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Peace! Romance Summer Vampires. Right now, friend of the Roundtable, Reanimator is doing a Kickstarter for the second episode of her indie animation series, The Three Tones. Tammy's a newbie witch getting thrown to a grand adventure for two best friends, Sia and Shirley. But along the way, she ends up in a love triangle with two vampires, Yogaya and Darius. Oh, the drama. Be a part of the future of indie animation and support The Three Tones by checking out the Kickstarter in the description, and be sure to watch the first episode right here on YouTube.
What we do here is go back.
Need something to throw on while you draw, study, or sleep? Roundtable Rewind's got you covered. So why not take a stroll down memory lane and subscribe?
No one can tell me what to do.
See you there.